And with that, I'll be starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. If I could tell you the number of times I had to use photo math because like nobody in my family actually knows how to do the math problems that I get in school, you would probably be bored of me telling you that fact, right? I think with this premise, we already tell you that the phones that we have and the internet that we have and that most people have access to is extremely beneficial, right? And we tell you this for many reasons, right? We think that coming from a school, 3KDU, that basically allows students to use iPads and other devices in school, we tell you that it's not just bad, we tell you there's a lot of good things that come with being able to use a device in school. I think the fact that a lot of people aren't necessarily students that can memorize every single fact that they get in a textbook is exactly the problem that we have in status quo, right? I think the issue is that not all people learn the same, right? But in my speech, I'm going to be talking to you about the many disenfranchised students who can't be able to access the quality educational resources that we talked to you about in first, right? I think now here's a little bit of rebuttal and responses to the opposition, right? I think first of all, of course, like it's easier we think that it's easier for schools to regulate the fact that they can control, I think, people having phones and devices, right? I think the fact that, yes, a lot of people don't necessarily use their mobile data in school, but the fact that schools often control Wi-Fi and the internet that goes on is something that we already tell you we have fiat in from first speaker, right? But I think even if you don't buy that case, I think the fact that obviously when you have a teacher who's in the classroom, it is obviously more difficult to play Roblox than compared to whether you are in school or being unregulated at home, right? I think, yes, there is still regulation in school, obviously. A school is still a school, right? And we don't think that it's necessarily fair for them to say that now everybody will be gaming on their devices just because they have access to it, right? I think secondly, we think that it's extremely difficult for them to just say that they will overhaul the entire educational system and bring in quality teachers, right? Because I think, first of all, if that was entirely possible, I think everybody would be getting quality education, right? But we see that in status quo, this is really, really not the case, right? Why? Because we see that a lot of teachers are obviously underpaid, undercompensated, which is why even in America, which is a more economically developed country, we see that a lot of teachers in America are going on strike. They're leaving this profession, right? This profession that is so inherently important to so many children in schools, right? And we tell you that in a lot of schools, especially in Malaysia, and like just every single country in general, right? We see that the class sizes are enormously huge, right? Especially in some countries in Africa where you have classes of 80 people to one student, right? We see that the education and the quality of education that you can often get is not feasible. Is not feasible oftentimes